Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm a few weeks away from my own personal hunt in the mountains. I'm packing all my stuff right now and getting everything organized. And it got me thinking, I've been hunting elk now for, I guess 5 years. And I think back to the first time I went elk hunting, how many mistakes I made and how much I've learned since then. Going through my head now, I think back and look at all those mistakes, I'm like, wow, I really messed up in so many different areas. But when you first get started elk hunting, you don't really know what you don't know. So I put together a list of like 4 of the biggest mistakes I made early on that if I went back now, I would love to know as a new elk hunter. So starting off number 1, this might be a hot take, but one of the biggest mistakes I made my first time out elk hunting was going too deep. Now, a lot of people, a lot of YouTubers will say like they love to backcountry elk hunt, they like to go deep, 8 miles back and be where no one is and hunt the elk there. Personally, that was one of the big mistakes I made going on my first hunt. Is I went so deep that I went into areas that didn't actually have elk, and I wasted all that time hiking in there, and then realizing there was nothing there that I had to hike all the way back out. I lost a day and a half doing that because I was all caught up in like, oh, you got to go steep and deep to find the elk. That's where the elk are. Now they're going to be there where no one's bothering them, which in some cases is true. But because I was a new elk hunter, I was new to e-scouting, the areas that I scouted didn't hold elk. So going deep wasn't going to service me in any way because I didn't go into an area that was conducive to elk. Some areas you might be able to go and hike deep and you might be all alone and find 100 elk in a valley and you're hunting them all to yourself. That's a great situation to be in. But when you're just getting started, and what I've learned since then on all of my elk hunts is being mobile is usually the best strategy when you're hunting elk in the rut in September. Elk in September, they're moving, they're trying to mate, they're rutting, and they're always on the move. The bulls are looking for those cows and they're chasing them all up and down the mountain. There's other hunters out there spooking elk, pushing elk over the ridge. They're always moving, and if you go super deep, you might not be where the elk are, and you can't kill an elk if it's not there. Now, mistake number 2 that I made, when I first got out on my first elk hunt, I put all of my gear in my backpack for every single thing that I was doing. And it really weighed me down throughout the hunt as the days went on. So for example, I got out there a day before the season opened. I put on my pack, it weighed probably like 60 pounds. And I didn't need all of that stuff. I was just going to check out a new area and scout. I ended up hiking like 5 miles for a scouting trip with all of the stuff on my back. Sleeping bag, tent, all my food, all of the stuff, and I was just wasting myself, wasting my energy going with all of that crap on me just to scout an area before I decided to hunt it the next day. I did this in every single area, and it really weighed on my body later. Day 5, day 6, I was exhausted because I was carrying all that weight around. Really think about your hunt plan. What do you actually need for that day? Minimize what you carry in your backpack for mobile elk hunting. Again, like point 1, I found that hunting mobile, going minimally, going in and out, being fast and agile has led for more elk encounters for me. So I don't necessarily need to carry everything. Pack one thing of food, pack your jet boil, or better yet, don't pack any stove and pack something that you can just pull out and eat. Pack what you need, nothing you don't, for those early scouting trips or where you're probing different areas to see what's there. Don't carry everything on your back unless you're confident in where you're going is going to have elk. That way you're not wasting your energy. Mistake number 3 is underestimating elevation. A lot of us are traveling to different states when we hunt, and you don't get to see what the terrain or the country actually looks like until you're there. When I was preparing for my first elk hunt, it was in Colorado. I was going to be hunting 10 to 12 to 13,000 feet. When I was looking at the map, e-scouting on Go Hunt, I would do the 3D mode to get a sense of elevation. I'm like, this doesn't look too steep. This looks like something I could go up and down in maybe an hour and get after it and get out of there pretty quickly if I needed. I was way wrong. If a mountain looks small on Google Earth or Go Hunt or whatever mapping software you use, guarantee it's going to be so much bigger than you think it is when you get there. It's going to take you 3 times as long to get up and down than you probably think it will. So always underestimate the elevation that you see on your e-scouting, because the mountains will always be bigger than they are on the computer screen. And that leads me to point number 4, overestimating my speed on trails. I like to think I'm pretty in shape, an in shape guy. I think I can move fast. I think I can hike fast, which I can to an extent, but you're always gonna hike slower than you think you will. For example, you're wearing way more gear, you're out there for an extended period, so your body's gonna wear down after a while. I guess I could use the example of when you're walking around a city or walking around town. Most people, I would hope at least, can walk 2 miles in about 40 to 50 minutes at a walking like a brisk pace, like you're not speed walking or nothing, you're just going for a stroll. That's pretty good, but don't think that you can walk that speed on these trails, especially when you're on elevation. You might even be looking at like a mile an hour, maybe slower, a lot of cases slower, depending on if you're running into deadfall, if you're going uphill for a majority of that. You better tamper that down. What this led to on my first hunt was I would look at the map, I would e-scout, and it was kind of twofold. It would screw me in 2 different ways. I would look at a map and I would say, okay, this ridge line, I could probably get up that ridge line, check out this area, and then back down if it doesn't have any elk before 9 o'clock. Well, I was still coming back down at 2 o'clock because it was so long. It took me so much longer to get up. I had to go over deadfall. It's so many variables out there that if you see on the trail this, like, and you're thinking this doesn't look too far, I could probably do this in 1-2 hours, double, maybe even triple the time that it takes you from what you think you're going to get, speed you're going to go when e-scouting compared to real life when you're actually there. Now, those are the 4 mistakes that stand out to me most. I'm sure there's tons of others that I can think of if I really had a chance to think about it. I just jotted these down because I was thinking about it and looking at old pictures of my first hunts. If you have any glaring mistakes that you made when you first started hunting, I'd love to hear them. Put them in the comments, maybe help out other first-timers who are seeing this video and want to see what mistakes to avoid. Thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Good luck this season. We're only a few days out from elk season.